Elyiss Williams. UGA going to UGA, I guess. What do you think?
Yeah. So I guess Georgia landed the industry tight end one. He's 26th overall in the rankings. He's 6'7", skyscraper, 235 pounds. Going to Camden County High School in Georgia. Has a pretty good production profile this past season. He did have 25 catches for 530 yards and 7 touchdowns. He had overall, he had about 40% of his team's receiving production if you count yards and touchdowns. So that's good mark. And he played a 45 SOS, so he's playing good competition. So some of the positives is you can see there he can go across the middle, he can catch in traffic like that. He's real coordinated, huge. Obviously he's 6'7", he's got long arms, he's got a massive catch radius. I think he moves well for his size. He's pretty strong, can do some blocking. He doubles as a basketball player, a good basketball player as well. I think he's got pretty good hip mobility. He can offer a little bit of yak, as you can see, which, not a lot of 6'7" guys can do. So that's impressive. And I thought like he got off the line pretty good too. So I thought he had pretty good burst. He's got guys draped all over him, and so he can catch through contact, do those types of things. I presume he'll be a good red zone threat. Can just kind of throw it up to him, and he can jump up, climb the ladder, and go get it. You can see he's in line here. He can get up the seam. So yeah, coordinated guy, good catch radius, all that. As far as like negatives go, I think I just have like a slightly different philosophy with tight ends when it comes to the services, maybe. Because he kind of like he gives me some trade as green vibes a little bit from the last class, where it's like a lot of his production is kind of jump bally stuff, which it's like I kind of like expect that from all tight. Like they should be doing that against these smaller, shorter linebackers and DBs anyway. I don't need my guy to be like, you don't need to be 6'7" to be doing that type of thing. So it's just like, it doesn't necessarily wow me in that regard. And though I do think he moves well, there's like always that caveat. It's like, yeah, he moves well for his size, but does he in a vacuum, does he move well enough to be like a really good route runner and separator type guy? Because I find myself gravitating more towards these guys that are like 6'4" or even a little bit shorter. Because if you think about a lot of these guys in the NFL these days, you got Sam Laporta, Trey McBride, George Kittle, Evan Ingram. I don't even, obviously Bowers is just under, he's like 6'3". So these guys that move crazy well, can get in and out of their breaks super fast. They just get open, and they're good route runners, and they're explosive dudes. So I'm going to go for the guys that move really well. And he's kind of an average speed guy too. So it's just like, I don't know. I think he kind of has more upside on defense, to be honest. And that's like another threat. There's a risk here that he might, we don't know if he's going to play tight end either. Hopefully we get some more clarity in the near future, because he could play along the defensive line too. So I don't think he's going to end up my tight end one. I do see the appeal. It's just, I think I just have a little bit of a philosophical difference in the services.
Yeah, I mean, good call out too, that some of the newer age tight ends that are lighting up the box score, which is what we care about as fantasy players, are smaller. I mean, these aren't the Gronks of the old day where, you had 6'6", 250. A lot of these guys are smaller. I think Hawkinson's also, I think, 6'4". I don't think he's 5 or above. I think he's 6'4". But yeah, all the rest of the guys you listed, small-ish comparatively. Matt, Elyiss Williams, yay or nay?
I would say yeah. I'm probably a little bit higher on the David. Not tier 1 tight end for me necessarily, but I think there's a chance he beats out any other tight end in the last class for me. To me, I mean, I do see what you're saying with the Trades Green kind of traits, but I do think he's much better after the catch than Trades was, and the fact that he's already blocking in line is a huge deal to me. To me, he kind of profiles as more of like an OJ Howard kind of tight end, where he can block. He does have this higher end athletic ability, but probably not going to be a super regular chain moving tight end, I guess you could say. Going to be kind of, seams and jump balls and all that kind of stuff. So, he is kind of limited in that regard. But when you say, build me a pro type tight end, it's going to pop out a guy like Elyiss Williams. Just insane frame, huge size, and a really high end basketball player too on top of that. So I do think there's a lot to like. I do think he's pretty fluid at his size too. But again, as David said, we keep saying at his size. Ultimately, we do need to look at it in a vacuum. How good of a route runner can he develop into being? How explosive will he be off the line? There's definitely questions there. So I don't know, a bit of a mixed bag, I would say.
Yeah. He just Georgia though. It's like, man, they're just cranking out tight ends. Oscar Delp, I think, quit football, sadly. So there's like a hole in their chain of command of tight ends where there's room for a guy to kind of jump in a little earlier than you might have otherwise thought. Or is it Delp? Or no, it's not Delp. It's Spruilin. I think it's Spruilin.
Spruilin, yeah.
Spurlin. And then Jaden Riddell, and then now Elyiss Williams. So, but yeah, I think everything you said is pretty accurate, and I just don't know if these guys, like, when's the last time? Darnell Washington, I know he went to Georgia as well, but he was like this massive hulking guy, and he ended up kind of being like a blocker for the most part, and then occasionally caught some balls and then went to the NFL. We haven't even heard from him in 2 years, I think. So it is kind of like, do these guys have the ability to be shifty enough and route running, savants enough to make it at the next level? Because Darnell Washington, even in college, like, just really didn't do a whole lot from a receiving angle. I think people tried to make him into more than he was. When I watched it, it was like, dude, he catches and falls down. Like, he's not, maybe a red zone guy, but like, he's not. I'm not saying that's what Williams is. He looks more athletic, but it's just hard to tell, like you guys are saying, against tiny little JV quality secondary guys, he's crushing it. But when the safety's 6'4", 230, it just changes the dynamic a little bit, I think. So yeah, we'll see. I think right now he's the only tight end I've really looked at, to be honest, in this class, but looks interesting. But I think, I'll probably like the Iowa commit better or, a smaller guy. Like you said, I really like Lawson Lucky, Hoffman, Rapplier. These guys were all 6'3-ish, 6'4 at the most. And so I think that I will say that the blocking is nice to see some inline blocking, at least. That's more than you get from a lot of these recruits. So he's got a little of that dog in him. He can get down and get dirty there.